It is week 5 of the college football season, and we are back with our 10 best picks of this upcoming Saturday weekend. If you're new to the Call on Our Shot channel, I'm Austin, joined by Logan. Today, we each have our 5 favorite picks for this upcoming Saturday slate, and we'll weave in that best bet of the weekend segment in there. Let's recap last week. I didn't have a great week. I was 5-1 2 weeks ago, 1-3 last week. I continue to struggle with my best bet of the week. Logan, a solid 2-2 week. I mean, not much you can do about there, just losing a little bit of juice. And then you look at the fans, a 2-3 week, not too terrible. Now we did change up the format for the fans, and we took the top 5 most liked comments in the comment section down below. So go down below, type in your favorite pick. You like Oklahoma, you like Wake Forest, you like Clemson. Go put your favorite pick down below. If you see a pick that you really like it, and we'll count it towards the record if it's one of those top 5 most liked comments. If you're new to the Call on Our Shot channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button too. And Logan, let's hop into it. And I'm going to start with this one off. And I'm going to go to a pick that's close, near and dear to my heart. And you see the logo on my chest. I'm going to the UCF Knights game as they take on SMU. I'm taking the under, 63.5 points, -110 on BetMGM. Now, let's talk about this because as a UCF fan, I've loved watching this team. I obviously am an alumni from there, and I love watching them, but this team has no passing game. I don't know how they moved down the field. They had 49 passing yards last week versus Georgia Tech. They continue to struggle throwing the ball in the air, and I don't think that's going to continue. I think it's going to continue against SMU. You look at UCF, they want to run the ball, 8th in the nation in rushing yards. They got an elite running back, so they got John Reese Plumlee who's running it out of the backfield, but they can't complete passes. So if they get a holding call, they're kind of screwed because they can't get any first downs. You look at SMU, while they don't have a great defense, they played some good offenses like TCU and Maryland. And I think this high over under at 63.5, maybe it's saying they're going to score a ton of points and maybe I'm going to lose this one. But the fact I don't trust UCF's offense, we saw a game like USC and Oregon State have an over under at 68.5 last week. They didn't even sniff that over under. Wouldn't be surprised if this one goes pretty low in this one. You could see a lot of things have to go right to hit an over at 63.5 points. You got to get a lot of quick touchdowns. I don't think UCF's capable of doing that unless we see some busted coverages from SMU. So I really like this UCF defense too, allowing just 13.5 points per game. I think 63.5 is a little bit too much for this one. Plus, it's worth noting, as we're kind of recording this, we don't really know the track of Hurricane Ian, but it could impact this game. We could see less coverage. Who knows? It could shorten practice time. So taking the under 63.5 as my first pick of the weekend. But Logan, what do you got for the people?
Well, first of all, on that UCF pick, I mean, I would have called you a psycho during the Scott Frost or even Heupel era for ever taking an under in a UCF game. But in mine, I'm not picking any totals on this slate. Screw totals after last week. I'm going to the Utah versus Oregon State game, and I'm taking Utah -10.5 in this one. Oregon State played well versus USC, but a veteran Utah team will handle business at home. That's what the narrative is going to be in this one. Utah's offense also sneaky good, right? 17th in scoring offense, 23rd in rushing yards. This is an offense that can be able to throw the ball and run the ball, make life very difficult for Oregon State's defense. Utah established the ground game, right? Oregon State has not shown the real ability to stop the ground game. 79th in rushing yards allowed. So in that back half of the pack, I definitely think Utah can do it in any type of offense they want. It's going to be tough also for Oregon State to run the ball and to throw the ball, even for that matter. Ever since the UF debacle, Utah has allowed 13, 7, and 7 points. They're 16th in scoring defense, 3rd in passing yards allowed. So honestly, this Utah defense is very equipped to make life miserable on Oregon State. And I do think they just sort of assert their dominance in this one, covering that 10.5 point spread and winning this one in easy fashion.
Yeah, when I was looking at that game and trying to decide which side I wanted to lean, it was very telling that you saw Oregon State only laying like 6.5, 5.5 points last week to USC. Now they're coming here and laying 10.5 to Utah. I think Utah, you're on the right side there. Now, Logan, I'm going to switch to an SEC matchup. I know you love your SEC matchups, but I got a doozy for you because we got Mississippi State at home taking on Texas A&M. And look, I'm taking the Bulldogs, Mississippi State -3.5. Like a couple weeks back, we saw, a ranked program. We see it occasionally, a ranked program like Texas A&M go on the road and be an underdog. Not too often it happens. We saw it a couple weeks back when you saw Michigan State go on the road to Washington. We took Washington and it cashed out with ease. Now, Texas A&M, I argue, they've really underwhelmed. Their defense is hanging on to all threads. They had to rely on a kick to go off the top of the upright, not just off the upright, the top of the upright to cash and win their game last week against Arkansas. Look, this offense is really struggling. 191st in total offense, 109th in points per game, and now they're likely down their leading receiver. So look at Mississippi State on the other side of the ball. They have a decent offense, 36th in points per game, 11th in passing yards per game, led by Will Rogers, their QB, completing 37% of his passes, only 3 interceptions, 16 14 touchdowns. They also have a good ground game with Dylan Johnson and Jaquavius Marks. Look, I really like Mississippi State. They're at home. And look, I think they get it done. They did lose on the road versus LSU. That's their lone loss of the year. But they did win this game last year versus Mississippi State. Win by 4 games overall. Also, we know this A&M team wants to wake up and go and play Bama. Well, they got Bama up on next on their schedule. They could be sleeping on Mississippi State, just traveling there and be like, whatever. We don't care about this game. We want to go beat Bama the next week. So I love the Bulldogs -3.5. Give it to me.
Yeah, I really do like the pick in that one. Will Rogers, for any casual college football fan, Will Rogers is such a fun quarterback to watch. I really hope they can light up A&M in that one. But in my pick, I'm going to Iowa State and Kansas, and I'm taking an alt spread. Logan, you're out of your mind, right? I'm saying you guys can keep the points. I want more, right? I'm taking Iowa State -6.5 alt spread. You're getting plus value on it, and I don't know where the line's going to end up by Saturday, but at the time we're recording this video, I like the value on it, right? I watched too much of that Kansas-Duke game. I had some side money on that one. And I watched Kansas just simply outscore Duke. And I think they were honestly lucky to win that game, right? It was just a really close your eyes if you like defensive football, because there's so many missed tackles on each side of the field. Iowa State last week played so sloppy, 2 turnovers, 8 penalties for 78 yards. Also watched a good amount of Iowa State versus Baylor. Kicking myself. I was like, come on, Iowa State. Cyclones, you are better than this, right? Iowa State still, despite how bad they were, and I did think they did get the terrible end of some penalties in that one. Iowa State still managed to score 24 points against a really good Baylor defense. Well, here, newsflash, guys, Kansas does not play defense, right? They should be able to move the ball up and down on Kansas. Kansas defense, 81st in scoring defense, 87th in passing yards allowed. So really, whatever Iowa State wants to do offensively, they should be able to do it. And that's why I am taking an alt spread, right? I think they can win this one running away. And Iowa State's defense, I think they're going to really handle Kansas in this one, right? They're 11th in scoring defense. This is a big bounce back spot. Austin, I feel like you might agree with me on that one.
Logan, I'm absolutely all in, and I don't want to take you down with me, as this will be my best bet of the weekend. I'm not going for the -6.5, which you're taking for, plus 140, but I will be taking the Cyclones. That's my best bet of the weekend. Iowa State -3.5, taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, I got to give credit to Kansas where credit is due. A 4-0 team. There's not a lot of undefeated ball clubs left in college football, but this team has been electric so far, led by Jalen Daniels, and he's been absolutely crazy. And Kansas hasn't really beaten a lot of good opponents. They played Tennessee Tech, West Virginia, Houston, Duke. This is a team in Iowa State that's going to be the best team they've seen, and I'm not surprised to see him as an underdog. And as an underdog here, and I'm not surprised that a lot of people keep riding with Kansas, because people love to bet on this hype team led by Jalen Daniels. But kind of like Logan was saying, Iowa State kind of played themselves out of last week, turned the ball over twice, 8 penalties. Not going to get it done doing that, but I believe the Cyclones get back on track on Saturday. Like the Jayhawks, like Logan was saying, not great defensive team. And look, Iowa State's got a great defense. We saw that against Iowa a couple of weeks into the season. They're allowing the 14th fewest rushing yards per game, and I believe this Kansas team wants to run the football. I don't think they'll be able to do it. They're also only allowing 14.5 points per game, the 32nd fewest total yards. This is a great Iowa State team. So look, I'm riding with them. Hopefully they not only cash my best bet, they cash Logan, your alt spread, and we can all be winners. We are all on the Cyclones train. What could possibly go wrong? They're my best bet of the weekend. But Logan, what do you have for the people?
Yeah, let's ride on that one, squad ride. But I'm going to a lesser known matchup, right? We're going to San Jose State, Spartans versus Wyoming, and I'm taking San Jose State money line as my best bet in this one. The odds might fluctuate. It's currently sitting at -130 in this one, so it has rose a little bit, in terms of San Jose State, right? Now, if you look at Wyoming, right, Austin's tried fading Wyoming a couple times, throughout the season. That really hasn't worked, right? Wyoming's coming off a game versus BYU where the box score, they covered that one. Good for them. Before that, 17-point underdog win versus Air Force. So you look at Wyoming and you're like, I might be able to come through back the Cowboys. But you know what? San Jose State, more of a limited sample size. They've only played 3 games. Wyoming's played 5 games. So the book is written more for Wyoming, and I think the odds makers have this one adjusted. So I think a lot of people are going to be riding the trendy pick, which is Wyoming. I'm going the other way on this run, right? San Jose State's offense, since they've only played 3 games, it doesn't look all that impressive. But they did last week dismantle Western Michigan, which I like to see 34-6. I like San Jose State's quarterback a lot more than Wyoming's with Peasley. I like Cordero. Cordero, no interceptions on the year. That's big, right? In college football, I absolutely cannot stand quarterbacks that can't take care of the ball. Well, Peasley, Wyoming's quarterback, he's not really a threat offensively through the air, right? Wyoming is a really one-dimensional offense. If you can stop the run and make Peasley beat you, you're in a really good chance to win that game. 154 yards versus BYU. Peasley only has 5 touchdown passes all year in 5 games. Really not a huge offensive threat in terms of Wyoming. And I think San Jose State simply outscores this one. Give me the Spartans as my best bet this week.
Logan, I knew you would bet the Spartans. When I was looking at the Wyoming game, Wyoming cost me some coin earlier this year. I won't touch their games, although I really do like your Spartans pick. I know if people watched college football videos last year, they knew you're a big Spartans fan. You were always staying up late at night watching those games. But I'm going to dive into my 4th pick, and people could claim that this is a revenge pick, or maybe this is a hate pick, but I'm going to go into the East Carolina Pirates game versus USF, the enemy of my UCF Knights. And I'm actually taking East Carolina minus the 7.5. Now, last week we saw a ton, and I saw it all over Twitter, a ton of people laying a ton of points with East Carolina, ECU against Army or against Navy. And I don't really know why people were laying a ton of points. They were laying like 10 in the first half. Now, I'm not doing that. I'm only laying 7.5 just to win by a little more than a touchdown. Now, you see USF, their team coming on Saturday. They played your Gators really tough, Logan, but on Saturday they were humbled and they lost 41-3 to Louisville last weekend. And like I talked about earlier, the hurricane could alter this USF preparation for ECU, whereas ECU is just going to be traveling in, and wherever they get in, they're going to get in and play this football game. USF, what they want to do is run the football. When they had success against Florida, it was running the football. They barely completed many passes, but it was just running up and down the field. The Gators couldn't stop them. And ECU only allowed 110 rushing yards per game, so been pretty good on the ground. And while they did just go up against Navy, one of the better rushing teams really in the NCAAs, they didn't do terrible against them, obviously losing in double overtime, but only giving up 23 points in 2 overtimes. Is it terrible? I look at the over-under in this game, sitting at 58.5. I don't think USF wins if this game even sniffs that over-under. You'll also look at last year. ECU beat them 29-14. I know they have a new QB, the guy I believe that transferred from Baylor, but still, I think ECU plays really well here and a little bit of a bounce back revenge spot after that loss. I know USF's also coming off a loss, but I think ECU is the much better ball club here. And minus 7.5, I got to lay the points. I think they certainly can get it done. And that's, maybe USF hurts me, and then maybe I'll avoid all their games for the rest of eternity. But I have to fade the USF Bulls. Sorry.
It's a Pirates life for you this week, right? Yeah,
baby. What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? USF is a pretty crappy team. I do like the pick. Now, in my pick, everyone's gonna yell at me for this one because I'm once again fading a team that already wronged me last week. Going to the Oklahoma State versus Baylor game, and I'm taking Oklahoma State plus 2.5. Plus 2.5 versus Baylor. Look, I already got a ton of hate last week when I picked Iowa State against Baylor, and people were like, "Don't fade Baylor. Baylor's a good team." Well, sorry, I'm doing it again. And if Baylor wants to come out with a vengeance once more, so be it. Right now, look, Oklahoma State. This is like quietly, or maybe not even quietly, one of the best offenses in college football. They have no trouble scoring the ball at all. They average over 50 points a game. Also, Oklahoma State is yet to trail this season, so this is a really explosive offense, and I think they're just simply going to outscore Baylor and overwhelm them. They have that up-tempo offense, with Spencer Sanders. He can be an actual problem in this one. I know Baylor's defense, has been decent, but I think they got really lucky to win against that against Iowa State Cyclones last week. I know you can call it luck. You could say, Logan, that's a lazy excuse, but I watched that game and I said, man, Iowa State really should have won that game, right? Iowa State beat themselves. Since allowing Central Michigan to score 44 on their defense, Oklahoma State's defense has really tightened up, right? 9 sacks and 4 interceptions on the year for Oklahoma State's defense. I think they're going to make life difficult on Blake Shapen. I think they're going to get the pressure needed and make Baylor, just have to beat them through the air. They have some really good defensive backs on that Oklahoma State secondary as well. I like Oklahoma State in this one to keep it close, keep it within that 2.5. I know everyone's going to keep riding Baylor and Baylor till they die, but I'm going Cowboys in this one.
Hey, Logan, you're 1-0 on Oklahoma State betting on those games. It's because you bet Western or Central Michigan in week 1. Now, let's switch over, and I'm going to wrap this up with my 5th and final pick. Now, I have a question for the people out there. What's better than having some action on Saturday? I would argue having some action, because that is where we're going. I'm taking Ohio. plus 10.5 for Kent State. Now, look, everyone saw Kent State last week. They went toe-to-toe, and I say toe-to-toe with Georgia because, they covered. It was like a 40-point spread. They covered, but they actually, made it a little sweaty for Georgia bettors. I mean, they were down only, I believe, 15 in the fourth quarter. And look, they showed up, and it's not a surprise to see, everyone's like, look, Kent State is a ball club. They're legit. And seeing them bet a lot of people, this line opened at 7.5, moved to 10.5 with so much money coming in on Kent State. And I don't think Kent State's as good as they are, as they showed last week. That could have just been a clear letdown spot for Georgia. And they gave it their all and obviously came up short. I think you go a letdown spot when they're back at home, but they're taking on Ohio. I mean, Ohio's got a great quarterback at Curtis Rourke, 69% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And something about Ohio, they can score points with the best of them. Now, last week, they can also give up points because last week they won 59-52 against Fordham. Like, I don't need them giving up 52 points. If they do that, I would be very surprised if they won this game. But I do think they're capable. They're 25th in passing yards per game at 313. But on the other side, Kent State they're terrible. They're giving up a ton of passing yards. They're averaging 289 per game on the other side. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. No surprise. You see the over-end at 68.5. Look, I already said Kent State, both of these ball clubs are going to give up some points. I just think 10.5 points is too much for a action game. I mean, these games always feel like they're coming down to the wire. You always see the highlights on like ESPN where it's like these teams score like 8 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes. That's perfectly capable of happening here. So I think Ohio, the Bobcats, give them to me. I want a little bit of action this week. So I'm taking Ohio plus 10.5. I think it's too many points. I think the line should be more closer to 6.5. So I'll take Ohio. Give me the plus 10.5. But Logan, 5th and final pick of the week. You wrap it up.
If people haven't clicked off after my last pick because they hated me so much, they're gonna absolutely hate me on this one, right? We're the corn kid, the internet sensation. He would love this pick. Everyone knows the corn kid. If you don't, go look him up, right? I'm taking Nebraska minus 4.5 versus Indiana. End of analysis because of corn kid. No, but really, right? First of all, you got to do some line reading in this one, right? I think the books are trying to tell us something. Favoring a really crappy Nebraska team against a 3-1 Indiana team. Well, Nebraska really should be prepared to play this game, right? They have an extra week to prepare versus Indiana. Like, you got to get some stuff right. The whole Scott Frost, out the door departure. Regroup, guys, right? And I think the books kind of see it that way. Nebraska, last time we saw them on the field, they were absolutely getting embarrassed, trounced by Oklahoma. I figured they play with pride in this one. And I'm also kind of predicting a Casey Thompson breakout game. I know Casey Thompson is a very talented quarterback. He's very capable of having an explosive game. And this Indiana defense isn't great, right? This is poised for Thompson to have a great game. Indiana's defense, 94th in passing yards, 109th in rushing yards allowed. So this is a really back-of-the-pack offense or defense that I think Nebraska serves as a get-right game, right? You could only be so bad for so long. And Bazelak, a quarterback for Indiana, look, I've watched Indiana football, right? I don't take pride in that. He's not all that impressive. Eye test, tells you that. 4 interceptions in 4 games for Bazelak. He misses a lot of throws. I question his decision-making a lot. I think this one sort of gets out of hand for Indiana. I think you're going to have a lot of people back in Indiana with the points, but Corn Kid would be proud of me. I'm taking Nebraska in this one.
Look, Logan, when I bet Nebraska 2 weeks ago, I felt like an idiot. So I hope they don't make you feel that same pain when you're going to bed on Saturday night when they just flop again. I don't know if they've covered at all this season, but I hope they get it done in honor of the Corn Kid. I don't know. I love it. I won't lie to you. But those are 10 best picks for college football week 5. We appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. You guys smashed the like button, goals, and all that stuff in last week's video. Let's crush it again. We appreciate you guys as always. Some more videos are popping up on the screen if you want to go check them out. Austin, Logan, we're signing out. Let's go have a great week. Comment down below your favorite bets, and we'll count it if people are like it enough. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.